Zion Foster was just 17, a bright, spirited teen who trusted the wrong person. When she told her mom that she was spending the night at their place, no one saw a reason to worry. But by the next morning, Zion had vanished. No clue left behind, no trace of her, just one chilling truth. All signs were pointing to one person, her beloved cousin. The person she trusted the most was now blatantly lying. He swore that he hadn't seen her for years. The problem? Her last location showed that she was right across his street, and what followed was a web of cleared phones, deleted camera footage, and disturbing search history. The worst part, she never made it home for her 18th birthday. 5th of January 2022. Sierra Milton woke up to find that her eldest daughter, Zion Foster, hadn't come home. Zion was a senior in high school and in her rebellious phase. The night before, she had finished her shift at the Detroit Wing Company. She had told her mom she had been staying with her favorite cousin, Jaylin Brazier. Sierra herself had watched her walk out the door around 11 p.m. The next day, Zion's boyfriend, Vertez Gonzalez, texted Sierra. Zion wasn't answering any of his messages or calls. The last thing she ever said to him? A text at 12:59 a.m. On my way, but she never made it. As panic set in, Sierra reached out to the one person Zion was supposed to be with, Jaylin. But what he said stunned everyone. He claimed he hadn't seen Zion in years. Zion had just turned 17 and celebrated her birthday last November. The year prior, she'd run away, once to her grandma's, another time on her own. She was rebellious, but not without reason. Her world felt heavy. Her grandmother was battling cancer, and at home, her mom's rules felt too strict. So when she didn't come home that night, Vertez, her boyfriend, tried not to panic. But as the hours passed, something felt wrong. At 8:53 a.m., fear broke through. He texted her, "Are you alive?" Followed by, "This is the worst thing ever." Sierra reached out to Jaylin, the cousin Zion said she'd be with, but he denied everything. Even when Sierra reminded him that Zion used to visit once or twice a month, Jaylin's response? He accused Zion of lying. Said she was always sneaky, but there was something he didn't know. Zion had shared her live location with Vertez, and that night, at 11:24 p.m., her phone was across the street from Jaylin's house. Vertez, admittedly insecure, had taken a screenshot. Jaylin said she must have used him as a cover to meet someone else. He suggested Sierra to call the police, but insisted on staying out of it himself. Vertez, however, wasn't so easy to convince. He kept pressing, sending Jaylin the screenshots of Zion's location near his house. Jaylin responded with a ring cam video, trying to prove she'd never been there. The East Point police weren't alarmed. Zion had a history of running away. So, with little help from authorities, Sierra took matters into her own hands, posting flyers, refusing to believe her daughter had simply vanished.
We need your eyes. The police need your help.
That's right.
We need your help.
Jaylin, who Zion had lovingly called her cousin, wasn't really family. He was the cousin of Sierra's ex-husband. At 23, he had 2 children and a long-term partner, Katrina Smith. When police finally visited his home, Jaylin seemed calm, even eager to prove he had nothing to do with it. And just like they expected, they found nothing.
What's going on, sir? Mr. Brazier?
Yes, sir.
What's your name, ma'am? Okay. You guys know Zion?
Yeah, it's just basically showing this girl was never in my house. So
We believe you, man.
and she's known to be a runaway. Like she's ran like 4 times, and every time she got some dude's house. Her mom knows this. Her mom's just playing it a certain way, and it's making me so fucking uncomfortable.
She's known to be a runaway?
Yes, I would assume you guys would know that.
But Sierra wasn't buying it, and a mother's instinct, it doesn't lie. The truth had been sitting there the whole time, on a neighbor's security camera. At around 11:15 p.m. on January 4th, a white sedan, known to be Jaylin's, was seen. 2 figures stepped out. Moments later, the car was seen turned towards the backyard. A few minutes passed, then it drove off. Police wasted no more time. They secured search warrants for Jaylin's home and car. The house gave them nothing, but the cadaver dogs? They were signaling to the trunk of his car. On January 19th, Jaylin sat down with the detectives with a lawyer friend, ready to tell the truth. According to him, after putting his kids to bed, he and Zion sat in the living room and smoked some weed. She started to feel drowsy, and when he returned from getting a drink, he found her unresponsive. So, he panicked. Instead of calling 911, he carried her body to the trunk of his car, drove to Highland Park, and dumped her in a dumpster.
That was weed, normal marijuana. So I freaked out. I'm like, okay, well, this looks terrible. This looks very bad. I didn't know what to do. So I took her, I put her into my trunk, and I put her in my trunk. Okay. In my car. And I took her to Highland Park and put her inside of a trash can, and then I left.
Jaylin claimed he didn't delete anything, but his phone told the truth, wiped clean by a factory reset just 2 days after she vanished. Even so, the fragments left behind placed him in Highland Park at 1:48 a.m. He claimed he left her in the trash can on the right, but by then, there was nothing left to find. By January 20th, the cracks in Jaylin's story had begun to show. What started as smoking marijuana soon changed into psychedelics and acid. But there still wasn't enough to charge him with murder, so he was arrested for 1 count of lying to the police. Meanwhile, authorities traced the Highland Park garbage trucks to nearby landfills and volunteers searched, but still, no trace of Zion. Jaylin faced up to 4 years for his lies, but ended up with a sentence of just 23 months. Even behind bars, he didn't stop. He used another inmate's phone line to contact Katrina and was caught with a cell phone. His calls were monitored, paranoid whispers and vague questions. Has anything major happened? He indicated the landfill search.
Possible one, right? Is that there's nothing major or new. And due to that, there's a last effort to put together any types of anything. And that's basically the most logical thing that I came up statistically. So,
I do want you to know. Keep your head up. Don't say nothing. You could deny.
Of course. Baby, stop talking.
I know. I'm just saying.
I know what you want.
After serving 9 months and completing a 90-day incarceration program, Jaylin walked free. But his freedom didn't last long. On June 13, 2023, after nearly a year and a half of digging, the police got what they needed: an arrest warrant. Jaylin Brazier, 23, was officially charged with second-degree murder and tampering with evidence. Despite his efforts to wipe everything clean, detectives pulled fragments from cloud storage, and what they found were searches from January 7th. What is the force of a garbage compressor? How do police get your phone history? And even more disturbing, months before the incident, he'd look up graphic pornography involving cousins and step-cousins. The story took a different turn when claims of her having a seizure and thus passing away on his couch came in. But Sierra presented pages of medical history which proved otherwise. The only possible condition was asthma, but if that was the case, it would be a different story. She would have gasped for air, and it would be very apparent that she needed help. Before announcing the verdict, the judge outlined how he had caused many delays in the case and failed to take responsibility for his actions.
So for these reasons, the defendant is sentenced to 38 to 90 years consecutive sentence at 5 to 10 years. I'd count 2 with credit for 356 days certain.
Jaylin Brazier was sentenced to 30 to 90 years in prison for the murder and another 5 to 10 years for tampering with evidence. Yet, he never admitted or confessed the truth. But what do you think? What happened in those final moments? The truth might never be known, but one thing's certain: Zion never made it home.